What's good, gamers? Today I'm talking about win more mechanics in Menace. So I think Menace is a great game. I've really enjoyed the early access. I've completed 2 campaigns now. As I mentioned in my last video, I've just done a expert Iron Man campaign, and as part of that, I tried a few runs on expert that failed very early, and I had to restart a few times. So I think it took me like 3 or 4 goes to get this run, which actually had legs. And the reason for that is basically that the early game is just very hard. It's very hard to get a run going, I think, especially if you haven't played a lot of this game, and if you aren't really used to the enemies, and if you aren't very familiar with all the best strategies. So the thing I want to talk about is win more mechanics, so which I think is kind of like partly to blame, or at least is a strong symptom of this perceived difficulty in the early game. This not just me who's noticed this. I think it's kind of generally, from what I can tell, lots of people who play MENACE and been talking about it on YouTube and on the Discord and on the Reddit and all that stuff seem to kind of agree that generally the early game is very hard, but later on the game is a lot easier. Well, maybe not a lot easier, but comparatively easier. So why? And the reason is when you win, there are a lot of things in the game that mean that you win more. So what I mean by that is, if you win a mission, you get loot for winning that mission, some of which you will be able to use, and some of which you won't, but you can sell it on the black market and trade it for gear that you want. So in the early game, you have no tools, so you need tools to win the game. You need weapons, you need special weapons, you need accessories, you need armor, etc., etc. So you need to buy those things on the black market. In order to buy things from the black markets, you need to have things to sell, and you get those things to sell by winning missions and collecting the loot. You will also need promotion points on your to give your perks, or to give you squad leaders perks. So if you don't win, you don't get any promotion points, which means you can't promote your squad leaders, which means you can't give them any perks. So again, you need to win to increase your strength. You can also get temporary buffs for winning missions. Your squad leaders will get happy. They get euphoric and determined and all these bonus states that give them a nice bonus to their stats on a temporary basis. You also get a bonus for completing a mission. Every mission will give you something for winning. You'll get to see this on the operation view. It will show you what bonuses you can get, and that can be, sometimes that's just only a kind of temporary bonus for that operation, like extra damage or extra intelligence or something like that, but oftentimes it's something that helps your campaign as a whole. It will be a random item, it will be extra trust, it will be extra squaddies, something like this. And then winning the final mission of the operation, and therefore completing the operation as a whole, also gives you loads of rewards. So the first thing is just trust. So you need trust to increase in order to get new OCI components or new OCI upgrades. You also get authority if you complete the operation with 4-star rating or better, which I think is just the average rating of each mission summed up over the course of the operation. So doing well in the missions will give you more authority, and authority is a very important resource. It gives you extra discipline at high authority and a penalty to discipline at low authority, and you need it to be able to hire new squad leaders. It's the currency with which you buy new squad leaders. So you need some authority to be able to hire new squad leaders to be able to play the game. You will also get a random reward. You get one item that you can pick out of a selection. The better you do, the more options you get, and the better those options are. So you really want to be beating operations with 4 or 5 stars rating. You also get more OCI components to spend on the OCIs, which you unlock with trust. So you need to beat the operation to earn trust to unlock OCI upgrade options, and then you also need to beat operations to gather OCI components to then spend on those upgrades to actually unlock those OCI upgrades. And then on the other hand, there are a bunch of punishments for playing poorly, or for making mistakes. So squaddies permadie. If you play poorly and you get too many squaddies killed, then you just game over because you don't have enough squaddies to fill out your roster. You can also lose vehicles. If a vehicle gets blown up in a mission, then that's it, it's gone. Squad leaders can get injured. If a pilot gets blown up, then that pilot is injured. The vehicle's gone and the pilot is injured for 2 missions. Or an infantry squad leader can also go down and get injured for 2 missions. Even if they don't go down, they can get the bruised status effect, which is like a penalty, and that lasts a long time. It's like 5 missions. And then your squad leaders can actually just die. If you don't rescue them, they go down, you don't rescue them, then they just die. That's it, they're gone forever. So there are a lot of punishments for making mistakes that make it harder to then come back and win, to recover and win the next mission. If you fail a mission, if you have like 1 or 2 injuries, it's then really hard to come back and win the next mission because you get punished for those mistakes. And you also miss out on all the rewards that you would have got otherwise. You miss out on the authority and the bonus trust and the random reward and the OCI components and the promotion points and the mission loot. Right, all of these things gone because you messed up and you took an injury and then went, I can't win. I need to bail on this mission. I need to abandon mission. So all of those things together mean that you basically have to win your first few operations when you start the game. You have to, because you have so little margin for error. You're very weak. You have no weapons, no armor, no special weapons, no accessories, no perk points, no promotions, no ICI components. You have bang average authority, but you have no squad leads available to hire, so you need loot to be able to sell on the black market to acquire the dossiers, which then allow you to hire someone. And then you need to increase your authority to be able to hire someone without also giving yourself a debuff to your discipline. You need so many things to get your run going. But the game rewards you heavily for winning, but it punishes you heavily for losing. So you're just in this really tough situation where you just have to win. And if you don't win early, just delete your save, start again. There's no point in continuing if you lose the first 1 or 2 operations. Just start again. Try again. Because you're just making your life harder. Like, why would you start a game? Why would you carry on with the game struggling through when you could just start over and give yourself better shots? Try again. Take what you learned, try again, and win the first few operations and build yourself a safety net. Because once you get a bit further into the game, you have more kind of padding against failures, against mistakes. You're more protected because you will have tools to work with, and you'll have spare supplies in the bank. You'll have extra squad leaders. So even if a squad leader gets injured, well, it's okay. If you've got 8 squad leaders in your roster and one of them gets injured, that's fine. You've got spares. You can sit someone out for 2 missions. Someone can spend 2 missions being injured. That's fine. If you have lots of supplies, then it's not the end of the world if one of your pilots gets blown up and loses their vehicle, because you can replace it. The vehicles aren't crazy expensive. They're very expensive for the first operation, but once you've beat 5-6 operations, you can probably afford the 240 supplies for a new light troop carrier. You're not going to be happy about it, but you can afford it. You'll already have some promotions, so missing out on a few more promotion points isn't the end of the world. You have a lot of squad leaders, so missing out on some authority isn't the end of the world, etc, etc, etc. So, well, having said that though, if you're kind of just about managing to get by and you're winning, but you're just about winning, and then you start losing, I think it's very hard to to recover from a series of losses. And I think everything in this game, there's a really strong feedback loop where if you win, you get all these bonuses and then you win more. But if you lose, you make a mistake, you get punished for it, and you get punished really hard, and then that punishment makes it really hard to then turn things around and start improving and start winning the next mission. So I think this is a problem for the game because it makes for a kind of frustrating start, right? You want players to kind of start the game and for the game to be easy and to kind of introduce players into the game, but instead players will be met with a massive difficulty wall. And basically, if you're good enough at the game, or if you're willing to stick with the game enough that you'll try the first 3 operations over and over until you can like ace the first few operations, then great, you can go forward and you can sail through the game. But you're going to turn a lot of players away because they're going to get like absolutely nuked because they don't know what they're doing. The game is very cool, but it's quite different, I think, to a lot of other strategy games. If you're like an XCOM player coming to Menace, you're just going to get the shit kicked out of you because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to play the game. And then you're just going to get turned off because you lost one mission and then you're like, I have nothing. I give up. I quit the game. I'm going to refund it on Steam because I played for 90 minutes. I won one mission, I lost one mission, and then I couldn't win any more missions after that, so I'm just going to refund the game. That's my kind of concern. So what can be done to kind of ameliorate this? The first thing would be make the early game easier. You could just give the player some supplies and let them, give them some margin for error, basically, by giving them something to work with, because the game is very hard. I know that I'm talking about expert difficulty here, but if you're playing on normal, I know you get a bit more to start with. You get some special weapons, I think, but even so, you don't have a lot, right? You don't have a lot of things to work with. But allowing the player to kind of pick some stuff, more stuff, or just giving the player more stuff to work with could help a bit. But that doesn't actually solve the problem that these feedback loops, these very, very strong feedback loops. So I think personally that these feedback loops need to be broken, or need to be weakened, need to be softened, or they need to be counterbalanced by something. I don't know what that something is. I'm not a game designer. I'm afraid I can't solve this one. I don't really have any great proposals. I have some ideas, but basically my ideas boil down to, if you lose a mission, you shouldn't be punished as heavily, and if you win, you shouldn't be rewarded as heavily, and then that takes the sting out of losing. Currently, all of the rewards, all of the good things that you get in the game are rewards for winning. I think some of them should probably just be things that you get for playing the game. Like authority. I think maybe authority, you should just get authority for finishing an operation, win or loss. The fact that you turned up and joined the operation gives you some authority. Maybe winning gives you a little bit more, but I think probably you should just get authority regardless. Or maybe the random reward you get regardless. Or maybe when you lose you get some pity points or something, and you can cash in 10 pity points gets you something. Or you get a and I don't know how it's going to be implemented. I don't know how you could write it, but I could imagine a world where it's written as if you fail an operation you get a thanks for trying item from the faction that you failed to complete an operation for. They give you an item and say thanks for trying. Too bad it didn't work out, but here's something. Here's a small reward because you tried. And then that doesn't necessarily need to be better than the winning rewards. You can still make winning better than losing. That's fine, but the complete absence of any kind of benefit to losing is crushing, I think, for early game especially. And then I guess there could be some other kind of mechanic that basically, and it sounds a bit weird to phrase it this way, but kind of rewards you for losing, or gives you a benefit to losing, makes losing kind of good for you in some way. Even if that's something a bit hidden, maybe you get luckier somehow, the next kind of RNG thing to happen, maybe the random event, if you lost an operation, the random event is guaranteed to be good for you. And I know that's very gamey and cheesy, but it goes a little bit of a way towards helping deal with the fact that if you lose, you need a hand, right? You need to help. If you're losing missions, you need help. But the game just kicks you in the balls and goes, "Fuck you, idiot! You lost. You deserve what you get." Which is, I respect it, but also it's not very from a game design perspective, it's not very helpful. It's probably not going to be very enjoyable for a lot of players, myself included. So there you go. I don't really have any like great suggestions. I don't really know what the mechanic I'm kind of talking about will actually look like, or could look like, or whatever. But hopefully it sounds reasonable, and hopefully the devs are aware of this and have already thought of this, and will be working on something soon. If you have any suggestions or ideas, or if you even agree with me at all, I would be curious to see in the comments. Yeah. I might do some more Menace content soon. But either way, thanks for watching. Bye.